By the way, tonight's daily space weather video is going to be a viewer-assisted video. So if I show something that doesn't seem to make sense to you, just drop us a line and perhaps our viewers will tell you what that's all about. Anyway, let's show volcanoes briefly. New eruption at Grindavik will be a big story. There is a map of the hazards for the new lava flow. Here it is cutting off a road. Right at an intersection there, so you could even say it's about to cut off two roads in that photo. There is another different view of that same intersection. This is a lot more of a gassy, explosive type eruption here, so lots of outgassing and even some ash looking like it's mixed in there. So a much more significant eruption this time, I think, than last time. And here's the rest of what is currently erupting. Now, of course, whenever we show stuff on the channel, it's going to show things like units, times, what you're looking at, and so on. I'm not going to go over everything because I'm limiting the amount of words coming out of my face. The reasons for that are currently classified. However, we will unclassify the reason for it at a later time. Probably like maybe on Sunday, I'll share. So those are the erupting volcanoes in any case. Next, earthquakes, and it looks like there could be an earthquake watch for Alaska, folks. Alaska on earthquake watch, as we may be seeing foreshocks happening around Alaska, especially these southernmost quakes. Those are the areas most prone to seismic activity. So there are the quakes. If you've got earthquake watches to cite to the other viewers, cite them in the comments. Pretty light as far as 5 and greater magnitude quakes for the past 24 hours. Now we're going to get to some stats here in a moment. First, some more solar imagery. How's that for a money shot? Sunspot 3576 is the T-mass, the most active sunspot. And we'll talk about some stats here next. The F107 is at 185. 185 solar flux units is the F107. There's the one-year graph, 185. Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard not forecasting significant space weather, a little bit of geomagnetic unrest in the forecast for tomorrow around when we make this video. So perhaps we'll see geomagnetic storm conditions. I was expecting a lot more extreme forecasts than that. I wouldn't be surprised to see a KP7 plus, as we said a couple of days ago. So I don't know, there was a disparity in people's forecasts. It happens. Here's NOAA's forecast, and it's looking like a very weak impact according to NOAA. I think it'll be a quite strong impact. So let us know what you think in the comments. I know there were definitely conflicting reports about the way that CME was directed. NASA also not forecasting jack for impacts. There's NASA's Enlil spiral for you as well. So that's what's going on. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from space. Geomagnetically calm conditions are currently chilling here at Earth. And what the are you doing if you're not chilling? Shout out to Mark Rebier. So that's what's going on in space to about 12 Earth diameters. Magnetohydrodynamic pressure is light because of space weather being kind of weak. Next, Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. It's our ground magnetic perturbations map. And the aurora are kind of unlikely here at the moment, although later tomorrow, expecting some significant coronal mass ejection impact. So tomorrow night should be a great night for the aurora, even down to mid-latitudes, in my opinion. Next, KP index at 2. KP2 is the geomagnetically calm situation for global geomagnetism. Solar wind is next. There's the Ace. Very diffuse but kind of fast. And at the Discover, a lot denser and similarly fast. So 7.3 protons per cubic centimeter there at the Discover, 481 kilometers per second. GOES magnetometers are, well, they're moving around a little bit there. So the high-speed solar wind continues, folks. It's a coronal hole high-speed stream without any coronal holes visible on the disk, at least no major ones. And we'll get to those in a minute. First, our top view ecliptic plane field plot. That's what it is. The top view ecliptic plane field plot, folks. All right, where are we? There we are. There I aren't. There I am. And what do we got? We got Earth in a North Pole sector yet? And indeed, as forecast yesterday, Earth is now in a North Pole magnetic sector of the heliosphere. So if you look at the last image, there you can see Earth's potential field surface source line is indeed in the green. North Pole magnetism at planet Earth. And just a quick reminder, folks, never try to sneak up on a dragon in its lair. You'll fail. And the dragon might not be happy about it. Although it might be amused just to have you trying to steal its treasure. Anyway, here's our line of sight field plot. Did you know this is the year of the dragon? Yeah, it's the year of the dragon. Anyway, that's what's going on for the solar fields, the solar magnetism. Our line of sight field plot, part of the National Solar Observatory's GONG-2 data. The Global Oscillation Network. It's awesome. There's our line of sight coronal hole plot. And yes, my voice is getting lower and lower. We'll look at coronal holes from SDO as well. Again, we don't have any majorly well-defined ones at the moment. And before we get to sunspots, let's look at some sunspot stats. Sunspot number still here, over 160. Sunspot number over 160. And if some lunatic is telling you that the sun is shutting down, 160 sunspots is not a quiet sun. It's average. So, facts. And if you've painted yourself into a corner, please come out. The paint will dry, but your credibility might never come back if you decide to, pathetically attempt to cash it in, things like that. So there you go. That's the sunspot number for the past month from Rob, the Royal Observatory of Belgium. Here's our synoptic map, and the chance of a large solar flare continues, although it is waning a little bit as the sunspot 3576 has degraded a little bit. We'll get to it here. We've got some extreme close-ups of it. First, our solar flare probability monitor and solar flare scoreboard. So where that circle is, that is still definitely a very interesting area. It is still beta gamma delta class. Look at that. The likelihood of an X flare went all the way up to 60+% there for a bit. So extreme magnetic shear, and here is the SDO continuum. So there's an extreme close-up, and you see that plasma bridge there stretching across that dark umbra. That is also characterized by extreme magnetic field differences, and there are other magnetic field extreme differences just behind there. Here's the magnetogram depicting South Pole magnetism in black and North Pole magnetism in white. So all the areas where you see very, very well-defined magnetic fields, and they're right up against each other, that is an extreme environment, to say the least, at the photosphere, which is the layer of the sun that the HMI instrument is viewing, the surface of the sun, way down below the corona and the chromosphere, the transitional layer. The photosphere is where sunspots occur, and those are their magnetic fields for the past 24 hours from SDO. Before we get to flares and things, they're next. And before we do any of that, let's take a look at the energetic particles. So the proton flux is next. We did have a little tiny uptick in the proton flux there. associated with a long-duration M-class event, it would be probably this one right here. A series of M-class flares. There are 3 in the past 12 hours. Or approximately, the past 12 hours, 3 M-class flares. And here they are from SDO. So that's 94 and 131. 2 different species of ionized iron. Here's the equatorial view. Sunspot 3576, now our TMAS, the most active sunspot. And there's a little closer view. And if that's not close enough, don't worry. There's an even closer view. And those M-class events there happening, like I said, just in the past 12 hours. Not too shabby. So despite degradation of the magnetic fields, the flare output picking up from sunspot 3576, which is one of the most impressive sunspots of the solar cycle. Again, solar flare watch continues, especially in that region. Likelihood of an X-class flare remains extremely high. Anyway, if that's got you hiding in your bunkers, congratulations, I guess, or something. Anyway, here's a star chart, and that's a thing. That's what's going on over my head. And here's our solar system forecast. That's where things will be on February 15th. Our astronomy photo of the day is a globular cluster in the halo of the Milky Way galaxy. Now, globular clusters are like miniature galaxies within galaxies usually. This one is kind of orbiting the Milky Way galaxy, we suspect. And globular clusters are areas that we have typically a rather radially shaped series of stars that are orbiting a common center of gravity. That one is known as 47 Tucanae, also known as NGC 104 from the New General Catalog. Next, we'll take a look at coronal mass ejections. Those are important, right? Yes. Yes. There are today's CMEs, and we are wondering if we have any more headed this way. And so let's take a look at that, shall we? Just kidding, I'm not really asking. It's a space weather dictatorship. I don't think those are earthly directed. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. So there are the last several hours. It looks like we may have some missing data there, not optimal. I think we do have a little bit of old data, so we may have another CME earthly directed, but we're just not going to know because I think we're missing some coronagraph data. So indeed it does freeze up right at the end of the video there, which is suboptimal because we did have a long duration series of M-class events. And it certainly looks like there is a CME right in this area, so if I had to guess, I'd say there's another earthly directed coronal mass ejection. So if you look right down here, you'll see ejecta right in there, and that is close enough to the center of solar disk that I suspect it might be already headed our way. If so, that'll be likely to arrive sometime late in the day on the 11th or early in the day on the 12th, depending on its speed. And speaking of which, let's take a look at stereo A while we're talking about it. All right, so there's stereo A, and indeed, that's another earthly directed coronal mass ejection. So let me bring this back. Here's the raw imagery on the left. Right in here, you can see a partial halo there. It's a little bit off to the left of stereo A, which is off a little bit to the west of Earth. So that may indeed have more earthly directed components. Fingers crossed for that. Here's the difference imagery. Maybe that'll show it a little better. Looks like it could definitely be earthly directed, folks. So another likely Earth-directed CME here. That's like 3 in the past couple of days. And let's get to filaments. Filaments, filaments. Wherefore art thou, filaments? Well, they're defying gravity because of magnetic fields. So there you can see some of those dark absorption features as well as the lighter features around the edge, known as prominences. There is the ground-based Cerro Tololo color imagery. And this filament right down here, one of these filaments or more have blasted off. And whoops, that one right there. That was the one that is now one of 3 that are on their way to Earth. So those are facts. And before we get to our bonus features, here come the last few hours from GOES 16 SUVI. Notice crown prominences at both poles. Notice large prominences at the eastern limb, especially, also at the western limb, but especially sunspot 3576 as the solar cycle ramps up and up towards solar maximum. That is one of the most active sunspots of the entire solar cycle. So don't be surprised to see major flares come from it. Here come bonus features. It's the ionosphere. The data is from Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology, and space weather's been weak. We're just seeing some high-frequency anomalies in there. So that's what you typically see when there's no space weather. You see low-frequency anomalies when there is space weather. And at the moment, none showing up. But wait till tomorrow night, things will be different. There you'll see quite a bit of blue on the map. Like I said, high-frequency anomalies mainly, not low. Low-frequency anomalies are what you see during geomagnetic storms. But like I said, at the moment, very calm for space weather. And by the way, that sunspot has shrunk a lot since yesterday. And yes, the plasma bridge is breaking down. So flare likelihood is dropping here, I believe, with time. Next, our meteorology segment. And yeah, that's a thing, our meteorology segment. So here it comes. Jet streams of the eastern world. And hey viewers, help us narrate the video because I am almost done talking. Surface winds, jet streams, and surface winds. Clouds and fog. Clouds and fog. Should I start doing one of those AI Twitch channels where I act like a bot? That sounds fun, right? There's shortwave radiation over the Americas. Here we'll show this atmospheric river coming in from the Pacific once again, making its way across Mexico and into Texaco. Also, there is a low here making its way just to the east of Vegas into the state of Arizona. See that counterclockwise rotating system there? That's what they call low pressure. And nextstarwitty.com map, that's new snow for the next 3 days. New snow for the next 3 days. There you go. That's the Euro model. Here's the GFS forecast for snow for the next 3 days. Dag, snow coming to Vegas, folks. How about them apples? How you like them? Hopefully you're not growing any outdoor apples right now, as they will probably not fare that badly. But anyway, so here's our weather.gov map. I just want to show you the key. And there are the lit counties. If your county's lit, well, head to weather.gov, because I'm not doing extended forecasts. I'm just doing this stuff. That's GFS pressure and precipitation 72 hour. That's GFS accumulated positive snow depth change. That's GFS accumulated precipitation, total precipitation, in inches. Also in inches. And temperature anomaly forecast. Seems like a great day to be on the bike Saturday with a forecast high of 59 degrees Fahrenheit in Lehigh Valley. What say you about the awesome warm temperatures? The unseasonably warm temperatures, which happen all the time in February, in the past, say, 10 years in Pennsylvania? We like the little respite from the deep freeze. Anyway, we'll close out with lightning, Doppler radar, and clouds and fog, and water vapor. So there's lightning for the past 10 hours. And we've got some terrestrial strikes in Illinois as well as in Madison. Check it out. Active thunderstorms there in Madison, Wisconsin. Quite a strong storm, too, there, with quite a bit of lightning activity. So not the most common thing at this time of year, but if you get warm temperatures, then there you go. Anyway, Doppler radar's next. That is what's going on for vertical motion in the air column. Ground-based Doppler radar systems. They show you precipitation. Clouds and fog, the satellite-based shortwave radiation map, shows clouds and fog even at nighttime, and there's water vapor. And you can see that atmospheric river here bouncing into this. It's coming up, and it's running into this dry mass of air right here. So this is a relative high pressure zone. And that's keeping it at bay from getting farther north as it makes its way toward the mid-Atlantic states. Anyway, here's a recap to close this mother out. That is your Doppler radar for the lower 48, clouds and fog. As a low makes its way toward Lake Superior, here is water vapor. You can see another rotating low there in the clockwise variety, the way low pressures rotate in the northern hemisphere. Anyway, here's me rotating out of this video. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off. And may that solar wind be at your back.